In the discipline of structural engineering, we do not fear the load. We can calculate the load. We can build for the load. What keeps an engineer awake at night is the hidden frequency. November 7th, 1940, 11:07 a.m. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge is dying. It is not collapsing because of traffic congestion. There are no heavy trucks stressing the girders. The static load is negligible. The bridge is tearing itself apart because of a breeze, 42 miles per hour. A wind speed that should have been trivial. But this wind did not push the bridge over. It seduced it. It found the structure's natural frequency and began to feed it energy. It created a condition we call aeroelastic flutter. Negative damping. Most people see a bridge moving and assume it is weak. An engineer sees a bridge moving and asks, why is the damping failing? Today, we are not discussing suspension bridges. We are discussing your retirement portfolio. Because right now, the global markets are behaving exactly like the Narrows Bridge in the final minutes before failure. The wind is picking up. The oscillations have started, and the diversification you were sold, the damping mechanism that is supposed to keep you safe, is about to vanish. Welcome to Briefing 07. The Tacoma Narrows portfolio. To understand why your standard 60-40 portfolio is a structural hazard, you must first understand the mistake Leon Moissaieff made when he drafted the blueprints for the Narrows. Moissaieff was a brilliant man, the leading suspension bridge engineer of his era. But he designed for static forces. He calculated gravity. He calculated the weight of the steel, the cars, the pavement. On paper, under static conditions, the bridge was invincible. It was lighter, sleeker, and cheaper than anything built before it. This is your portfolio. The classic 60-40 split. 60% equities for growth, 40% bonds for safety. On paper, this is Moissaieff's bridge. It is designed for static conditions. Your financial advisors build this using data from normal market environments. They look at historical averages. They tell you that when stocks go down, bonds go up. They tell you that these two asset classes are uncorrelated. Correlation is simply the financial term for structural damping. If stocks zig and bonds zag, the movement cancels out. The bridge remains stable. The ride is smooth. But Moissaieff ignored dynamic forces. He didn't account for how the structure would behave when energy was added to the system over time. He didn't calculate for resonance, and frankly, neither has your broker. When the wind hit the solid plate girders of the Narrows, it created vortices, little swirls of air that shed rhythmically. This is called the Kármán vortex street. Ideally, the bridge creates turbulence that kills these vortices. It damps the energy. But Moissaieff used solid steel girders. They caught the wind perfectly. The vortices shed at a frequency that matched the bridge's torsional mode. Instead of fighting the wind, the bridge joined it. Every gust added more energy to the wave. In 2022, we witnessed the financial equivalent of aeroelastic flutter. For 40 years, bonds were the damping mechanism. When stocks fell, interest rates were cut and bonds rallied. It was the perfect structural counterbalance. But in 2022, inflation, the wind, picked up. Suddenly, the correlation shifted. Stocks fell, bonds fell harder. The diversification that was supposed to save you actually accelerated the losses. This is the nightmare scenario for any engineer. Common mode failure. If you understand the danger of common mode failure, validate the signal. Press the like button. It helps the algorithm identify other engineers who need this warning. When the Tacoma Narrows began to twist, the two main cables, which were supposed to share the load, started pulling against each other. The north cable went slack, the south cable snapped tight. Then they reversed. They were no longer supporting the bridge, they were tearing it apart. When correlation goes to 1, your assets stop supporting each other. They become coupled oscillators. The volatility in your tech stocks feeds the volatility in your bonds, which feeds the margin calls, which triggers forced selling. The system starts to resonate. Let us examine the physics of the collapse more closely. It wasn't just bouncing up and down. Vertical oscillation is uncomfortable, but survivable. The death blow came when the motion shifted to torsional vibration, the twisting. At 10 a.m., the bridge was bobbing at 36 cycles per minute, vertical mode. By 10:30 a.m., a cable slipped at mid-span. The frequency dropped to 14 cycles per minute. The bridge began to twist 28 feet vertically with every cycle. Why does this matter to your wealth? Because most portfolios can handle vertical volatility. If the market drops 10% and bounces back, that is vertical oscillation. It is scary, but the structure holds. But we are entering a period of torsional stress. We have high debt, high inflation, and geopolitical instability all hitting the system simultaneously. These are not vertical loads. These are twisting forces. You cannot hedge a twisting force with a vertical solution. You cannot fix a systemic currency crisis with more 60-40 diversification. You need a different structural design entirely. Moissif used solid plate girders because they looked elegant. Modern bridges use open trusses. They look industrial, but they allow the wind to pass through. They reduce the cross-sectional area that the wind can grip. Most retail portfolios are solid plate girders. They are built with index funds and ETFs. They are designed to look elegant and simple on a brokerage app. Just buy the market, they say. Keep it simple. Simple is fine in a vacuum. Simple is fatal in a storm. Passive investing is a solid plate girder. It catches 100% of the wind. When the index crashes, you crash. There is no air gap. There is no nuance. You are fully coupled to the hysteria of the herd. This channel is not for tourists. It is for architects. If you wish to receive the blueprints for the retrofit, you must subscribe. Do not miss the solution when the wind begins to howl. So, how do we stop the bridge from collapsing? After the Narrows fell, engineers didn't stop building suspension bridges. They just stopped building naive ones. They added stiffening trusses. They added aerodynamic fairings. And most importantly, they added tuned mass dampers mechanisms, specifically designed to absorb resonance and dissipate it as heat. In wealth management, we don't call them tuned mass dampers. We call them non-correlated income streams. If your portfolio relies entirely on capital appreciation, hoping the price of the stock goes up, you are relying on the bridge staying still. We need to build a structure that generates yield regardless of the oscillation. We need assets that profit from the volatility. First, options selling, covered calls and puts. This is your aerodynamic fairing. You are harvesting the premium, the wind energy, and converting it into cash flow. High volatility means higher premiums. You are literally getting paid for the turbulence. Second, short duration treasuries. This is your stiffening truss. We remove the duration risk. We don't buy 30-year bonds that whip around in the wind. We buy 3-month T-bills, solid, immovable. Third, real assets, concrete, steel, commodities, things that have mass. When the paper world starts vibrating into oblivion, mass remains. The man who filmed the collapse, Barney Elliott, had to crawl on his hands and knees to get off the bridge. The oscillation was so violent he couldn't stand up. He left his car behind. When the 60/40 model breaks, it will not happen slowly. It will happen when the frequency locks in, when the liquidity dries up, when the selling starts to feed on itself. If you are waiting until the bridge starts twisting to install the dampers, you are too late. The wind is already blowing, architect. The data shows the frequency is shifting. Look at the bond yields. Look at the VIX. The hum is starting. Is your structure designed for 1994? Or is it built for the 30-year stress test? This is the yield, architect. We do not predict the wind. We engineer the structure to survive it. Class dismissed.